And now I want to actually read a statement. I was elected in November of 2023 and sworn in on January 4th of 2024. The ink was barely dry on my oath of office when the mayor scheduled our first retreat on January 25th and 6th of 2024. It was held in the Fayetteville City Hall. Retreats are public hearings. Anyone may attend and listen. It was not videotaped. It was not audio taped. No citizens attended. We made a wish list of things we'd like to see in Peachtree City. The mayor planned our second retreat on July 30th and 31st of 2024. It was held in Suwannee. I strongly objected to holding it there instead of in Peachtree City, based on cost, the lack of transparency, and Frank's health. It was not videotaped. It was supposed to be audio taped, but after the retreat, I was told there were no audio tapes. No citizens attended that meeting. The mayor planned our third retreat on February 10th and 11th of 2025 at Trilith. I asked if it would be live streamed, and it was. In fact, the videos of that retreat are still on the city website, so anyone can watch it. It was open to the public. 2 citizens attended, and that meeting had full transparency. The mayor planned our fourth retreat to be held on January 29th and 30th of 2026 in Kennesaw. It was held just days after Michael Polachek was sworn in. I asked if it would be live streamed. It wasn't. It was not videotaped. It was supposed to be audio taped, but after the retreat, the presentation given by Nikki Vanderslice was not on the audio recordings given to James Clifton in response to his open records request. All of Nikki Vanderslice's presentation was missing. It was during her presentation that data centers, annexation, rezoning, and TDK were discussed. Although it was a public meeting, no citizens drove to Kennesaw to attend. When I learned from the city clerk that the retreat would not be live streamed or videotaped, I bought a digital audio recorder to use. Remember, it's a public meeting. Anyone who is attending is permitted to make a recording, including councilmen. I didn't want to rely on anyone else to record it after the prior mishap, so I purchased an audio recorder. I should have purchased a better one. On the morning of January 29th, I made no attempt to hide that I was recording. My audio recorder sat on the table in front of me. I joked with Martha, who was sitting beside me, as she read the instructions for the audio recorder that Jasmine had just handed her. Martha knew I had a recorder and was using it. Again, it's perfectly legal. That was the day the city directors joined us mid-morning. That segment of our retreat ran quite late, well past the time allotted. Very late in the afternoon, after our directors left, Nikki Vanderslice started her presentation. She spoke about a lot of things. She outlined some details about the Fayette County Development Authority. She spoke about the flight school that operates at Falcon Field that recently received a sizable grant to expand their operation. Nikki emphasized that there is very little land available in close proximity to the airport for them to build a real flight school. Among a lot of other things, she spoke about the 1,100 acres in Coweta County just across Line Creek from the airport. She said we could annex the land and we could have the ability and power to rezone it to whatever we wanted, since we have run out of large tracts of industrial land. Nikki explained the Fayette County, and Fayette County School Board will all be able to reduce the residential homesteaded property taxes to almost zero when the QTS data center is completed. She emphasized that we, Peachtree City, would not be able to lower homesteaded property taxes because we won't get a share of the revenue from QTS. The implication being that Peachtree City needs a data center to generate a similar windfall of tax revenue. But if we annex the 1,100 acres, we would need to open a road to that property for our police, fire, and EMS to get there within allowable response times, and opening TDK is simply not acceptable to me. At one point, I thought we were venturing into topics that should be discussed in executive session of the council. Jasmine said it was not a covered subject for executive session, so the discussion continued. I think we should reopen the meeting minutes, and Martha should do a new set of minutes that clearly outlines all of the things discussed during Nikki Vanderslice's presentation. That would be full transparency. The city issued a letter to local news outlets claiming the topics discussed by Nikki Vanderslice were not discussed, and there was a lot of misinformation being circulated on social media. That also needs to be corrected. The second day of the retreat was pretty tame compared to Nikki's portion. When the city received the open records request for the audio files, city staff reached out to Martha, not to me or anyone else who attended. James Clifton reported the missing part of the recordings during public comment on March 5th. By that time, I already knew that my audio recording of Nikki Vanderslice's portion was not really audible. No matter how loud I turned the volume, I could hardly hear any of it. My recording was useless. But why was Martha's recording cut off before Nikki's presentation, and why did one of the 4 files provided to James have a date approximately 10 days after the retreat? Since it's my understanding that files copied from one device or another, or location to another, get saved with the same name and date as the original unless they are modified or the name is changed and then saved. So on March 17th, in an attempt to learn what had happened with Martha's missing recording, I reached out to Ted Meeker. He said he would look into it. On March 19th at 6:20 p.m., I handed James Clifton my recorder just before the city council meeting began, right here in this chamber. By Monday, March 23rd, an email went to all council members asking if they had recorded the retreat. I asked for a copy of the open records request regarding who filed it. The response said it was for James Clifton's open record request, and that city staff had been told that I had a recorder at the retreat. I got the recorder back from James and took my device containing all my original recordings to Jasmine at 10 a.m. on Wednesday, March 25th. Additionally, when Ted looked into the situation as I had asked, he learned that there was yet another staff member in attendance who had recorded the retreat. Ironically, it was that third recording that was provided to James Clifton that contained a decent copy of Nikki Vanderslice's presentation at the retreat. As I look at this entire matter, I have a few overarching editorial comments to make. Every retreat in the future should be held in our own council chamber where we can properly live stream the entire event retreat and place a video on our YouTube channel. That might avoid the need that I felt to audio record it after the issues during prior retreats. Live streaming the retreat and posting the video would actually be transparency. Plus, holding all retreats locally would save a lot of money. Our next retreat is tentatively scheduled for August 27th and 28th. I hope we have transparency, live stream videos, and no controversial presentations. And no, I'm not going to resign.